Hey, what's up guys? Joker here. Today I wanted to bring you an update to my performance review for Batman Arkham Knight, because when this game came out back in June, the PC community pretty much collectively tore this game to shreds, myself included, calling it the worst port ever made, and I promised at that time if they did release a big patch in the future to address those issues that I would look at it, and today I'm going to be doing that because they have released their interim patch for Batman Arkham Knight. Now, I don't believe that this is the final version of the game, and I honestly don't even believe that this patch was meant to be out yet, because early last week they had accidentally supposedly released the patch onto Steam, and some users had gotten a hold of it, and then it got uploaded on websites like Guru 3D, so people were able to download it and distribute it amongst themselves, and people were getting it earlier than intended. But then just a few days later, the patch got rolled out to everyone, and now you can go ahead and just get it on your Steam client for Batman Arkham Knight if you already have the game installed. The game is still not for sale yet, so if you don't already own Arkham Knight, you can't buy it from traditional avenues like Steam, but you can still find it on CD Key websites for fairly cheap, actually, like less than $20 on G2A. And I would say at this point right now, it's probably worth picking it up for the price that you can get it for, around like $15 to $20, because the performance is doing a lot better, and we'll be taking a look at that in just a minute. So let's go ahead and jump into the options menu, take a look at the graphics options, because they have added in some new graphics options to the game, and I hope you guys like the new setup I'm trying out for this video today. If you do, show me by sticking a thumbs up on it down below, and I could probably do a lot more gameplay stuff like this. It's a little easier for me to get my camera set up this way and do stuff in front of the monitor as opposed to facing away, so it's a little bit easier to do it this way, so hopefully I could do more content now that I have it set up this way. So let's go ahead and jump now into the graphics options. Alright, so coming in here, you can see that I am playing at full screen, but they do have support for borderless full screen as well as windowed mode, although I don't like using those personally. I prefer to use dedicated full screen so that G-Sync is working the best way that it possibly can. Resolution, I am playing at 1440p, but I did also test at 1080p, and I'll give you those stats in just a little bit after we get out of the options menu. V-Sync you can put on, off, or adaptive. I should actually have that off. I don't know why I have it set to on. Max FPS, this actually goes up to 90 now, but this wasn't even here before. When the game first came out, if you remember, this game was capped at 30 FPS. You had to go into the config and do some tweaks to remove that FPS cap. So at least now we can set it to 90. It's still not 144, which is what I would like to see. I would like to see a 144 hertz cap, but 90 is really, honestly, it's more than enough for me to please me. You know, I'm getting like solid 90 FPS in the game, so it runs buttery smooth. Really can't complain about it too much, but I do want to see 144 hertz support there, unless there's really a region with the engine that's going to break the game, but I don't see that being likely, as I played a lot of games on Unreal Engine 3 and haven't had any issues with 144 hertz support in the past. Coming down from that, we do have a texture resolution option now, which goes all the way up to high. Previously, this had only gone up to normal, or yeah, it was just normal, and that was it. So then you can set it up to high. Shadow quality we have here, we can go up to high as well, but that was the same as it was previously, and then the level of detail also goes up to high, the same as before. Now, after this, all of these options here, before we get to the NVIDIA GameWorks stuff, these were not in the game at launch, but they are now. So a lot of things that some people might want to turn off because they just don't like the visual effects of them. Like me personally, I don't like film grain, chromatic aberration, or motion blur, so I have those options toggled off. So it's nice that we do have those options here now. And there is the option to turn anti-aliasing on or off. Previously, this option was not here. You know, like I've said in other games, I do want to see more options for anti-aliasing, but given the choice of having no anti-aliasing on, you know, slider, or having one, then I'll take it as it is with just on or off. And it does give us the details here on the right side of the screen. It says this is a custom SMAA effect, so if it is going to be one form of anti-aliasing, then I'm glad that it's SMAA, because SMAA is my favorite form of anti-aliasing. And lastly in here, they did add also in texture filtering, so by default this was set to trilinear, but you could bump it all the way up to 16 times anisotropic, and I recommend you do that because it really has like next to no performance hit whatsoever. And then we also have the GameWorks settings down here, which were here when the game did come out, and nothing has changed here. You just have the option turn on or off, things like interactive smoke and fog, interactive paper debris, put on enhanced rain, or enhanced light shafts. And they also have included a really convenient memory slider on the right side of the screen for video memory, so you know how much VRAM you're going to be using before you get into the game. And I have found this to be incredibly accurate, because going around with these settings, it says I'm going to be using about 4,300 megabytes of video memory, and that was pretty much balls to the wall, dead on accurate. I was getting 4,300 pretty much consistently the entire time that I was playing at 1440p. But let's go ahead and jump in now, take a look at some gameplay, and see what kind of real-world performance we're getting with these graphics options. Okay, so here I am now in the actual game running on my 980 Ti because they actually did remove SLI support for this game going into this patch. So SLI is currently not working on this title. There's currently no SLI profile that works with this version of Batman Arkham Knight, so we have to see that later on. They did list in the patch notes that that is something that they're still working on refining, so it'll be nice to see that SLI support when it comes in the future, and I look forward to testing it again when that does become available. But right now, on the single 980 Ti at 1440p, I'm seeing usually around solid like 80 to 90 frames per second. Now, you see my FPS up there in the top left. Unfortunately, Afterburner after this patch is not working on Batman Arkham Knight. For whatever reason, the overlay does not come up in the actual game. It will in the menus, but when I go into the actual game, it doesn't show up. So I have fraps up there just showing the FPS, and I'm recording with OBS, so my frame rate is taking a significant hit here. So unfortunately, that is what it is because I had to do this recording with OBS the way that I have it set up right now with my DSLR. But normally, this would be up around 80 to 90 FPS on the single 980 Ti, but everything is really, really smooth at that frame rate. I have, it's silky smooth at 90. The lowest I saw it go on the 980 Ti was around like 70 FPS, and that was about it. I did also test on my 970 on the test rig using the i5-6600K at 1080p and all of the graphics options cranked up. It did tell me that it was going to go over the limit of the 4 gigabytes of video memory, which we know is actually 3.5 gigabytes of video memory. So I tried that out, but it was still smooth at 1080p as well as 1440. Even at 1440p on the single 970, I was still getting north of 60 frames constantly. It never dipped below 60 FPS. So based on my testing right now, the performance in the game has definitely gotten a significant increase. Like I said, they increased the FPS cap to 90. We'd like to see that go to 144 ideally, but 90 is good enough for me. And I do want to see SLI support get added in the near future, although the game is running really well, as you guys can see here. Even while I'm capturing on OBS, which does give a significant performance hit of about 15 to 20 frames, I'm still getting north of 60 on the single 980 Ti, and testing at 1080p, it was solid 90 constantly. It didn't budge off of 90 frames using 1080p on this card, but right now I am playing at 1440p. And like I said, 970, 1080p, it's basically getting 80 to 90 FPS constantly, and then at 1440p, it's around like 60 to 80. Sometimes it does go up to 90, but for the most part, it was around like 60 to 65 range. Never really going below 60 FPS, though, even at 1440p. So really impressive performance that they've patched into this game. It's basically the performance that it should have had at launch, in my opinion. It's just, kind of a head-scratcher as to why this had to happen. I would have much rather that WB or Rocksteady had basically just said, the game is coming out in June on console, and then we're coming out in September, October, on PC. I would have much rather have seen that and waited than the bad press that they got, as a result of releasing the game in an unfinished state. That's just something, it just boggles my mind that they're just like in that much of a rush to get the cash in, or they think that we're just going to deal with it. But hopefully in the future this gets better, and they'll see now with things like Steam refunds that we won't put up for it, and we are not afraid to get a refund if the game comes out and it runs like absolute horseshit. I know I'm not, and if I were to get a game and it ran like dog shit day one, then I would probably get a refund as well. Unfortunately, I had gotten this game with my 980 Ti, so I really couldn't do much as far as returning is concerned. But Newegg actually did rectify that by giving me Metal Gear Solid 5 code, so that was really awesome of them. But yeah, I couldn't get a refund for the game, obviously, because it was given to me for free with the cards. But, it just ran like dog shit when the game first came out, and now it's running a lot better. So it runs well enough now, so if you're out there running like a mid-range card, 960, 970, you're probably going to be just fine running this game. But be aware of the high video memory requirements. But even though, like I said, on the 970, it was like maxing out the 4 gigs, it was still really smooth. Didn't have any noticeable hitching or serious frame rate drops running on that 970 at 1440p. So this game is performing now, so if you were holding back on picking this up solely on the basis of performance, then I'm happy to say that it's worth getting now for the price that you can get it at on G2A for like $15 to $20. So if you did want to wait for that, then go ahead now, pick it up, because it's a solid performer, and from what I've heard as far as the gameplay is concerned, it's just as good as any of the other Batman titles. So really the only thing that might have been holding you back was the performance, but now that seems to be fine. So I'm probably going to play this game in the future and and enjoy it, but I don't think I'll be doing a dedicated review on the full game because it's been so long since launch. I just wanted to update you guys on the performance, and if things happen in the future with adding an SLI support, then I'll definitely let you guys know about that as well. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here now, guys. Please stick a thumbs up on the video below if you enjoyed this, and let me know down in the comments if you're going to now pick up Batman Arkham Knight because the performance has gotten better, or if you've already owned the game and if you were just patched in, you know, on this latest patch. Let me know how it's running for you on your system down below so we can see how it's running on a wide variety of hardware. I'd love to get those stats from you guys. So I'll see you in the comments, and I'll catch you guys next time. Ta-ra.